that famous line, if we can't learn from our past, we're going to be condemned to repeat it.
Yeah.
And in the fire service, we do that on a daily basis. I mean, it's...
Everybody, I am so excited about today's episode. This is take 2 with Ricky Riley from Traditions Training. I'm so excited to have you on the 2448. Quick aside, we did this at FDIC, and then our equipment had some story. And so I'm so excited to have you here in North Carolina with us visiting to talk about Traditions Training and your experience in the fire service. And thanks for being here.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad that it failed. It's all Spencer's fault. So we'll be sure to blame him as he sits behind in the booth there.
Look at them, they're sweating.
But I mean, we wanted to come down here. I wanted to come down here, and I brought Randy with us, and we were able to see your product. I'm a little worn out from this morning's tour and explanation of the new light bar. So I might be a little sluggish as we get started.
Well, I have the world's sweetest coffee if you want to take a sip. It'll definitely light the fire.
But I'm very excited to be here. Stellar operation, great team.
Well, thank you.
All the great things in the world. So
I appreciate it. Well, let's kick off with give me the high level. What is Traditions Training? Because I think many folks know you from your role in the fire service, but this podcast is so focused on folks that are entrepreneurial in spirit and also first responders. And what I learned about you as we've kind of begun to get to know each other over the last couple of years is that you've got this really cool training business. And maybe give me a little bit of what this thing does. Yeah,
I mean, there's different segments, little compartmentations of my life that I keep and I don't share with everybody. But, as you and I have become friends, they start intermingling and understanding it. But it was started in the early 2000s, so we're almost a 23-year-old company now.
Oh, wow.
That all started prior to 9/11 because one of our founders, who we'll talk about here in a minute, was getting out of the FDNY, and he was a 30-year veteran there, incredible person. That was Pete Lund, and his son was a volunteer at Kentland, and that's where I met his dad, and he was like, hey, Ricky, we need to do something to help the fire service. And I'm sure, man, let's whatever we do. I just was working in the training division in Fairfax, and we were doing a bunch of RIT training and all this sort of stuff. So we just started the company. The company's his name, so Traditions Training is the name that he came up with.
Oh, cool.
We have another, key phrase we use, combat ready. We don't use it nearly as much now, but that was his mindset of being proactive and being non-complacent and all that. So we started the company. It was him and I. We got some original members of Todd Marshall, who's down here in North Carolina now, Dave Brooks and Dan Shaw, and we started a company and we just started doing classes. And mainly it was RIT because I was right after the Brett Tarver in Phoenix and a couple of those incidents, and we were focused on that. And then Pete and I sat down one day and said, we have to focus on how to not get to the RIT spot, where we need a RIT team. We need to focus on how to be a better company, how to be a better company officer, how to be proficient in our job and our craft and to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And so let's spread out and do different classes. So engine company classes, truck company classes, rescue classes, command and leadership classes. And so we kind of all started that. So Pete retired, after 9/11. He survived 9/11.
Yeah.
And was retiring a year after 9/11, and we just toured everywhere, and it was insane. So we were before Facebook.
Oh wow, yeah.
I mean, of course, in that time is almost pre-internet. I mean, it was AOL dial-up at that time.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to get our name out there, and we started doing stuff locally, and then as we just kept expanding, and then we've been to Alaska, we've been to California, we've been to Texas, we've been to
teaching firefighters, firefighter skills and safety and that sort of stuff.
Canada, we've been everywhere. I mean, we were really, really busy. I would say now in our organization we're a lot less busy.
Yeah.
All our people have grown older. Have had these things called kids.
Yeah.
And apparently they take time and money away from you. I don't know personally, but they've just gotten a lot busier.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a 1,000 training companies out there. I mean, you look on social media and there's a training company pops up every day. So,
take me back. So you were a firefighter first. I mean, in order to start a training company, you guys focus on first responders, just firefighters, or all areas, incident command, that sort of stuff for other divisions, or?
Yeah. So I mean, I've I started in 1979 as a junior firefighter in Ocean City, Maryland. Obviously, a place that you like, and
Indeed,
wasn't smart enough to be a paramedic because they only hire paramedics, and then moved up to the Washington D.C. area. Got hired in Fairfax County, Virginia. Another one of your.
I grew up there. Yeah, I know the area
places,
well.
20 years there as a firefighter. An unbelievable experience. I wish it had never ended. It was a phenomenal fire department. It's a premier organization, and of course, you only know that after you leave it.
Yeah, yeah, of course, right.
When you're in it, you don't know how great they are.
Sure.
And even to this day, I mean, people that don't understand just how professional, how organized, how they're good at what they do, and that's protecting the citizens of Fairfax County and Arlington and all that. And then in 2005, I had a chance to go to Florida to be a training chief. I'd gotten involved in the Fairfax County Training Academy for like the last 2 or 3 years of that career there, and my people, Dave Brooks and Chief Rohr and Chief Kaufman, had all said, "Hey, you need to, this stuff. You need to pass it on to the next group."
Yeah.
And I go, to go back to that, Tommy Whelan was one of my captains in Fairfax, and I took a demotion to go work for this guy. This is
Really?
how bad I wanted to work for this guy.
Oh, wow.
Incredible captain, incredible person. And so, I take a 10% pay cut because I was a hazmat technician.
Oh, nice.
Take care of your hazmat stuff, man. Take it easy.
I love it.
I don't want you to geek out on me about hazmat.
I'm getting all excited.
I've had enough about lights today on mine. But I get my first evaluation from him. Obviously as a career firefighter, you get an evaluation every year.
Yeah.
And my man just beat me down like there was no tomorrow.
No way.
I'm like, dude, how can you do this to me? I'm like, but it was all valid stuff, you know your business. You can't be condescending. Not everybody knows what you know. Because I was either dumb or smart, or I would go to work in Fairfax and I'd go volunteer for 24 hours. So I was all involved in that. I was all in. And there's some psychological stuff that did that to me. I lost one of my best friends in 1983. We just had his 40-year memorial. At 18 years old, I lose one of my best friends in a fire in Ocean City.
Oh no!
So as Chief Schultz and I would say, I paid the price early.
Yeah.
So it was no longer a game at that point. It was no longer the fun. Hey, we're going to go to a fire. Nothing bad's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
We're gonna fight a fire and we're going to go home. But Jeff didn't get to go home, and with his family, so that created that seriousness.
Yeah.
So that he was like, you've dedicated yourself to the craft, but you're not passing it on. You're not when people are asking for help. Mine was always just do this. And he's like, well, they don't know, Ricky. You have to explain it to them. And it was just Bobby Halton did the same thing to me. I'm like, why would you need a class on how to open a nozzle? It's just you pull back. And he goes, well, people don't know that. You can't assume that the hundreds of thousands of firefighters that are across the country that they know how to do everything that Pete knows, and how he learned it and how you've learned it.
Yeah.
And so at that point, Tommy just kind of turned my career around and said, let's dedicate ourselves to getting our shift straight.
Yeah.
And then it just expanded from there. Then I became Battalion Training Officer, and then then I did a whole department. We did the whole department, and they have a firefighter leading it. I give credit to Fairfax for that. They said Ricky gets to go do this, and we evaluated the whole department.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. And then in 2005, it was the greatest day of my life and the worst day of my life, all in the same month, because I moved to Florida. I'm training chief. I got the chief's position. Beautiful place to live. Great people. And that same month, I lost Pete. So Pete is a heavy influence in my life. It was 3 and 4 phone calls a day.
Oh, wow.
Spending every weekend with him. Traveling around teaching, and his wife didn't like it, but of course she may have liked it. He was out of the house, but he would spend all the money that he earned with me on NASCAR die-car collectibles, and we'd have no money when he got home. But so we lost Pete in June 14th, 2005, at a house fire in his hometown.
Oh no!
So that it certainly shattered us for a while.
Yeah.
And then we got some more people in the business, and they helped us refuel it back up, and I was devastated for, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. Just I didn't want to do anything without him.
Yeah.
Because this is, as much as it is my company, it's his.
something you guys start
And everything
together,
that we, when we teach certain classes, we started off, or at least I started off, because I'm really, other than Dan, is the only person that ever taught with him.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that say they learn from him, and I got to teach with him, got to go through his processes, and that, just how important that was. So I wasn't ready to go back out and teaching. We got fired back up and rearranged things, and then we became a really successful company. But we were out every weekend. It was getting insane.
Yeah.
And then we all got full-time fire department jobs, and I'm trying to be a chief in Florida, and you have to pay attention to your own fire department.
Yeah.
You can't go out and worry about everybody else's. But it was a great time.
I want to know more about what the fire service, why did you originally, way back when you were 17 or whatever, why did you think fire service is for me? Because it sounds like you've had this storied career from training to working with legends in the space. Why didn't you go to architect school, or why didn't you? I mean, I don't know what else you would do, but
I'm not as smart as you, Sam.
School?
So let's get a couple of things straight.
Well, I didn't go to architect school either. Let me tell you, the only school I've ever had was fire academy.
I understand about a quarter of your vocabulary, so it's a. But 14 years old. Look, it's in Ocean City, Maryland. Obviously, like I said, you've been there. That volunteer fire department was all family. If it was a social arena. I mean, they went to fires, but every party that you went to, every event that you went to, it was the 125 volunteers from Ocean City that went there. And Ocean City, what you see it today, or even when you were younger, is nothing. I mean, I can remember not going past 30th Street and there'd be nothing there.
Oh, wow.
Now it's 144 blocks of, just sheer dense, community living. And so that, that's everything that we did. But I can remember, it was funny. I teach classes down in Ocean City, and one of my tormentors down there was in the class. I have my mentors and I have my tormentors, and the tormentor gave me my actual application as a junior firefighter. And I can remember that day that I was like, I'm not going in the fire department. I got other things I want to do. I have no idea what that would have been, believe me, because I'm not good at anything else.
But you're really good at this, so it's fine.
So I'm at 14, I signed up, and of course, then I go to take my firefighter 1, and it's my uncle teaching it.
No way.
Yeah.
So you had family also that were in the fire service?
Yeah. My dad was, a volunteer. I don't know that he was in it for the volunteer firefighting part of it. I think he was in for the social part of it. But all our friends were like that. So and then now, as we all know, is every place we go is a family. So that group that I retired out of Fairfax, I'd go to hell with a garden hose with them. It's just that's how well they were trained, how motivated they were, and just an incredible group of people. We did everything together. It was from if one of us bought a flashlight, there'd be 15 of us buying flashlights, or we want to put this pocket on our coat, there'd be 15 of us. It was that type of group, and I really missed that. I really missed that kitchen table with those people, because that's where you can really affect the fire services at a kitchen table if you have a proper motivator.
How did that develop for you, or what was that motivator in your early fire service days or in your Fairfax days? What bound or what was the glue at your kitchen table?
It was the people. And look, in a career fire department, you're not going to get all the best of the best. It's Fairfax County is almost 3,000 firefighters now. You're not going to get all Type A personalities. I only wanted to work at the Type A personality firehouse, but you're not going to get that person over there. But we would always say, just give me the 24 hours that you're here.
Yeah.
But this is all before cell phones. Stay off your phone, stay off the station phone. Let's train, let's get all this together. And without good company officers, that all falls apart.
Yeah.
And I can look at the ebbs and flows of my career in 20 years in Fairfax, and my highs were always with good company officers.
Interesting.
And without that person giving the proper motivation, setting the schedule for the day, determining the balance of, how the day is going to run to me, who's, Sam, I'm Sam Massa, 24/7, got the radio on, shotgun and cokes and anything, going all night. And, I thought it was cool to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Apparently you're supposed to sleep.
Wow. Sometimes, sleeping.
Just going out, and then, I would crash the next day. But that company officer being able to juggle personalities, being able to juggle different experience, the experienced firefighters and the non-experienced firefighter, mixing them together.
Yeah.
But, and then, teaching me to quit being an arrogant, jack behind
Yeah.
and teach, the kid that just came on the job. And,
Yeah.
I get to, look at some of the, people that are retired now and people that are getting promoted and go, man, I remember teaching that kid, how to tie a square knot or whatever it is, and, believe me, that has nothing to do with where they're at now because they did that all on their own.
Yeah.
It's just that part of I did something for his career. It wasn't where he is today, but but it's phenomenal just to watch that.
What was it like? Like, can you remember any of your early formative, like when you had a really good company officer teach you a lesson? What was it like to be in your shoes as a new person without knowing? I'm talking early career, without knowing what it's like. And the reason I ask is because I think so many times our listeners are in the fire service, they get in the day-to-day, and they sometimes forget the impact that someone can have. Because a lot of folks that listen are legacy fire guys. What was that like?
So I'm 19 years old, and I'm the worst version of myself at 19. There was nothing nobody could tell me. So for the preceding years before hiring in Fairfax, I was in PG, Prince George's County, Maryland, as a volunteer, and literally, we're going to 2 and 3 fires a week. Even
Cooking.
more.
Yeah.
It was just insane with how that county burned. So, I go to Fairfax, and I'm like, what are you going to teach me? I'm going to 2 and 3 fires a week, and, we're going, maybe a fire every 2 or 3 weeks. That's good because, people like to live in Fairfax.
Yeah.
We don't want it burned down. So then I meet my first captain, and, man, this guy broke me like there was no tomorrow.
Really?
Oh, my God. He was Ashby Thompson was his name. And, I come into that fire, I see, Navy guy, just an incredible dude, but he would not put up with that. So I wrote my first, my first written reprimand, I had to write myself. I did something really stupid. And my man sends me, goes, go write here's the form, go fill it out. And, because, what you did, what are you going to do to remedy it? What your future's going to be? And then he would sign it. So, you can only imagine, the last thing I want is this guy to actually write what he wants to write.
Yeah.
But, he was an incredible guy that drove us. His consistency is what the best part was. He was consistent about everything. It was 3:00 in the afternoon, we PT'd. So that was a requirement in our organization. And he didn't care if it was minus 20 or 120. We were PTing at 3:00. And, and then after we got back, we had to wash the wheel wells. Just a crazy Fairfax thing. Randy could probably tell you about that too. But, of course, the 19-year-old kid in me would be, hey, let's just squirt some water on the ground, and then, we'll make it look like that. And my man would come out there and call me out on it. And just an incredible, he's the one that said, hey, you're a professional now. And it doesn't matter if you're a career volunteer because you're a professional now. This is what you're going to do in your life. This is how we're going to operate, and you can't step outside these bounds. And believe me, he had to whack me upside the head on more than one occasion. But I can't imagine how I would have progressed in my career or how long it would have taken me to get to be a good firefighter without him at 19.
Yeah.
I remember at his retirement party, he had a couple sons. And his wife, it was still no cell phones at that time. This is the 80s.
Yeah.
And, I would answer, my job as the probationary firefighter, answer the phone. So I would talk to his wife all the time. And, we go to his retirement party, and his wife introduced me to her sons as, this is actually one of the firefighters that likes your dad.
No way.
But, that's how much of an
wait a
influence.
minute. Really?
But, so as a company officer, that is critical to anything that's going to happen on any shift in any firehouse. As an operations chief in Florida, I could write 1,000 policies. I could write 1,000 procedures.
Yeah.
And none of that is going to matter if the kitchen table doesn't embrace it and doesn't make it happen. Look, at 3:00 in the afternoon, I shouldn't say this, but 3:00 in the afternoon, 3 a.m., I should be getting the same product.
Yeah. Especially in the fire service, right?
Everybody's this isn't the same product a lot of times.
Sure.
But what happens is that the company officer makes it the same product.
Interesting.
I never slept. I would get up at 3:00 in the morning, run an odor of smoke, and it wasn't more or less to check up on them and is going, am I delivering the same product at 3 p.m. as at 3 a.m.?
Yeah.
Are we putting all our PPE on? Are we laying out? Are we taking all our gear with us?
Yeah, not taking a shortcut because it's the middle of the night.
Yeah, we can't do that. We just never know when that call is going to happen.
Yeah.
And that all goes back to Pete. That's that, fighting complacency, making sure you're not complacent. he worked at Rescue 2 in Brooklyn, probably one of the best companies in the world. And watching his firefighters sitting in the back, because I rode with him, I rode with him one time, at Rescue 2, and watching his firefighters operate was, just eye-opening to me.
That's interesting.
And I mean, I'm 10, 11, 12, 13 years of my career, and I'm like, I got this down pat.
Yeah.
And then I go watch this next level of firefighters.
Interesting.
And then you watch how they operate. Mark Gregory and Ray Smith and, all these great guys. And they're all influenced by their company officer.
Yeah.
How Pete operated is how they operated.
Now, how did you meet Pete?
He became a member at Kentland because his son was there.
No way.
So
okay. So you were also a volunteer at Kentland and working full-time in Fairfax?
Yeah. Way too much in both of those places.
Yeah, took all those and overtime, I'm sure.
Yeah, it certainly had a detriment on my social skills.
Wow.
I had a lot of beatings when after, to get to be a halfway normal person.
Yeah. Because
I'd lived in the firehouse my entire life. So his son was getting his engineering degree at Virginia Tech or Virginia University, whichever one. Matt will tell me when he sees this and I mess it up. But then his dad would come down and see him. His dad joined, and that's how I met Pete. And
no way. So would he run calls to you guys?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got pictures of him in the tower and everything.
No way.
So it was incredible. I mean, so his son got burned pretty badly at a fire that I was in charge of. His very first night as a certified firefighter.
Oh no.
So he got degloved in both hands.
Oh no.
And all this sort of stuff. And of course, that's. The cell phone in the car was still the one that was mounted. It wasn't like, and I can remember my hand shaking as I'm trying to dial his phone number. I said, "Hey, we took your son to the hospital. He's going to the burn unit. It's going to be bad."
Oh no.
But those 2 or 3 weeks, Matt was in the burn unit. Man, we went to some fires when Pete was there. Man, it was incredible. I mean, we were going to like a fire every other night.
No way.
Pete's probably going, "Hey, man, my son needs to burn more often. We can go to more fires." So, I don't think Andrea's wife was too happy about that. But I mean, it was incredible. So
how do you guys take? I think it's so funny because when we've posted some videos of Kentland vehicles and we've met some of the guys up there, and it's really funny or fun maybe to get to meet that crew. But it's such a diverse background of experiences and skill sets. And I'm curious, what was your experience like having someone coming down from FD&Y, from Rescue 2, like Pete? It's like clearly next level firefighter, and then I'm sure you had whatever the inverse opposite is of that, like the guy that's a mess up, whatever. Like how do you build that group of people and run calls together?
Well, first let's talk about Pete.
Yeah,
because one of the most incredible things about him was his ability to walk into a firehouse, and I always called it the 3 levels. So there'd be the 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids would be out on the floor, all looking at the fire truck, polishing it, getting their gear ready, and then there'd be the company officers would be in the middle office, either doing reports or, getting the stuff ready, and then I'll be back in the back office, being the chief, whatever. And Pete would stop at all 3 levels of that and have interactions with them.
Different interactions?
Different interactions. So, the 18-year-old kid is, hey, did you force a door this week? Or, did you have, you had a fire 2 days ago. Were you on it? What did you do? And just kind of go through that. And an 18-year-old kid is talking to a 30-year veteran in the New York City Fire Department, and he's not sticking his nose up at him. He's not, cool. He's embracing
so
what
he's relationship.
He's interacting.
Yeah.
He's interacting with him. He's like, hey, I've been there. I know how to force a door. What did you not do right? What did you do right? And hey, helped him through that. And then he would get to the middle offices, and then there'd be the company officer. And, Pete would, help the company officers. What was the decision-making process? And then he would get back to my office, and he was a volunteer chief in Woodmere, and we'd talk about chief stuff and then how to retain 18 and 19-year-olds, how to do better with our company officers. And
interesting.
So it was that one of his best attributes I saw was to be able to walk into a firehouse, swoop in, and look. The guy walked in, he was a rock star. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Interesting.
Vulcan, God of Fire, man. This guy was just incredible. And you walk in, but
cool.
be able to interact with all 3 of those, and that's what I kind of do now. It took me a while, even at the height of traditions training. We spent a lot of time with people, but what Pete I think wanted us to focus on was the friendships.
Yeah.
And that's what all I'm focused on now is the people that, hey, I want to talk to the 18-year-old kid, and I want to be that kid's friend.
Yeah.
And I want him to be able to call me if he has a problem. So, I love getting the phone calls. Hey, we had a fire last week. Well, the people in Delaware call it raw. it's called Ricky's Always Watching because it's
you see every video.
I'm on videos. I got it on Procastify.
That's
I get alert pages. I'm listening to it and sending text messages. And a 18-year-old kid, or it could be a 40-year-old chief. Just having those conversations back and forth. And that friendship piece is more important to me than any amount of money that you can pay me. So we went through a time where we were just making money, and we thought that, hey, this is what it's about. And then I had a stark realization this is not what Pete wanted.
Yeah,
Pete wanted to go out and meet people and have great friends and have these interactions and pass on the message.
Yeah,
and it wasn't about what kind of Mac computer can I buy with the money that we're making, or whatever you got going on here. I mean, obviously we're not anywhere near the level of your business. Let's not be funny. Is that but that's where we're going back to now, and where we want to go teach with those people. We'll teach anywhere.
Yeah,
but we kind of stay in a core group and
interesting.
Have those friendships.
How do you think his leadership style was maybe different, or like it sounds like? When I watch folks enter fire stations, because I mean, literally, my job is walk into fire stations all over the country, say hello and meet the team, and then figure out whatever's going on. But I see fire chiefs or other volunteers walk in, and there's like the annoying kids. That's what they oftentimes. Oh, they're just gunning to get the hose line, or whatever. But for such a seasoned veteran to appreciate those kids where they are, and for those kids then to receive that veteran's input without thinking, oh, the old timer's just trying to get one up on me. What was it about him, or what was his style difference, or, how can you just elaborate a little bit on? I want our audience and our viewers to get a sense of, if I wanted to be more like Pete, what would I have to do to make my interactions as valuable or as impactful as his?
You have to understand that everybody has a right to be in the fire service. So I mean that that's something I learned in Fairfax, but Pete was that same. I mean, look, if you're going to dedicate yourself to the job. Put yourself in a dangerous position, put yourself in an ideal atmosphere. One, you have to be trained properly, and you can't do that by being frustrated. So there is that. Look, I was that annoying kid.
Yeah, I was too.
And I don't understand how, those company officers like Tom and Ashby and all these company officers that, what they had to go through to go, God, how many more times am I going to have to write this kid up?
Yeah.
Until he gets it. But there are always going to be those kids out there, and there are kids to me now.
Yeah.
And so you have to embrace that, because they are going to be the future. I had no idea I was going to be in the position I am, whether it be a chief in Clearwater or being, the chief of Carolina, no clue that I was going to be there. But those people set me up for that by not letting me get away with being annoying or being a know-it-all and getting through to that. So, that's was one of Pete's great attributes, was to be able to meet all that. I mean, look, you do it with your company. I mean, I'm not good on. I mean, I think I'm kind of good on social media, but
I think you're doing great. You're on social media right now.
That's but that's how you communicate today.
Yeah,
it would be. It used to be, hey, we're coming in on Tuesday nights. We're having a drill at 7:00, and it's going to be for 2 hours. Yeah. And it could be 2 hours of terribleness. Or it could be, 15 minutes of greatness. So, what you can get out of that quality is what's important, So, and the attention span today of the firefighter, that's a true thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to do classes, it was 8 hours. I mean, we got there at 8 and we went to
You were there
4.
all day. Oh, yeah.
But then you just see people just weighing off, go down. And then if it was the same person speaking, it was even worse.
Yeah.
You had to have that. So, man, we went back and forth, and now it was not one instructor, it was 2 instructors. And then you get 2 different voices talking.
Yeah.
And then it was to the point where we got to who's going to be the good guy, who's going to be the bad guy.
Oh, so you'd plan that.
Oh, yeah. And who's going to be the funny person, who's going to be the straight person.
No way.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the, you talk about the youth of the fire department, is that there's a deputy assistant chief, Tony Kelleher in Washington, D.C. Fire Department. This guy is cut from a different cloth, just an incredible kid. But I meet him when he's 18 years old, and he is more of a screw-up than I was.
Oh, nice.
But knows the craft.
Yeah.
Knows the craft. I mean, there wasn't a minute that he wasn't honing his craft as a firefighter, and he had great mentors, but he was still a screw-up.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, watching his career, progress to where now he's the deputy chief of training and doing fabulous things.
Yeah.
And I'm one small part of that. But he'll never admit that. But I mean, one of the greatest things that he always told me was, I'm in the car and I'm beating him up about something. I'm just literally with Thor's hammer, just, beating him upside the head. And he goes, Ricky, I am not the 18-year-old Tony. I'm 30 some odd years old now. I'm not that 18-year-old kid. And I'm like, yep, you're right. You're not the 18-year-old kid. I need to start treating you like you're a 30-year-old and 35-year-old. I mean, the guy is, man, what a stellar dude. I mean, and the best part, proud I've been of him is, one, getting married, and two, having his daughter. And watch him become a better father than he is a firefighter.
Oh, wow.
And he's
a hell of a good firefighter.
Oh, yeah. There's nobody that can top this kid. I mean, this kid is...
That's awesome.
Just an encyclopedia of everything. I mean, the best story that I could tell you is that, so in the Washington, D.C. area, and Randy can attest that, we're really big on knowing streets. So we didn't depend on GPS, we didn't depend on Garmin. We didn't, and I'm not sure that's the correct way today. But just knowing streets was just, you would spend an inordinate amount of time learning streets, 100 blocks, half streets.
So you need to know where everything was.
You knew where everything was, fire hydrants, what building was there, what the address was. And so Tony likes going buffing fires in Detroit. And so that's like the heyday of all that. So I fly out from Florida. I meet Tony there.
You guys just go squirrel around.
We're just going to go squirrel around. We rent a car, we go squirreling around. I mean, you're running, 10, 15 fires a night. That's a great thing.
You're bound to find one, yeah.
So, I mean, we're literally sitting in the middle of Detroit, and not a good area of Detroit. And I might add that. And the dispatch comes out, and it's like, engine 55, engine blah, 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 all these stuff. And Tony goes, it's right here. I'm going, what do you mean it's right here? He goes, those companies, they're right here. The address is literally right here. It's going to be in, and we get out of the car and we look around and we see the glow.
No way.
He just knew by the companies that were dispatched where they were located, and was able to this crazy. He's got the crazy mind like you got. It's just he calculated all. Goes, it's got to be in this 6-block area, and I'm just like, oh my god, man. But, I mean, that just tells you what great. How do you know the streets in Detroit, like the streets of Washington D.C., the streets in Kent Line, just. Incredible dude, but it's those great people that that I get to work with and get to hang around with. I mean, that kid, as much as I think I taught him, he taught me more about the fire service than I care to admit, because he's a great guy.
That's cool. How did your career from the fire service and these people that you were meeting begin to progress towards putting together this business?
I think it was mainly Pete. We just wanted to do better. At that particular time in the early 2000s, you're learning from like the Delmar book, the IFSTA book, and then you'd show up at a fire, and you'd put the Halligan bar in this way, and there was always some crusty dude behind you going, where'd you learn that? How did you? Why aren't you holding it like this? It needs to be an angle. You need the Sam Hiddle hat. It's got to be flipped around. It goes 10,000 pounds of force. All this sort of stuff, but they weren't teaching what was going on in the streets.
Huh.
So you go to these training academies, and that's another one of the things that Pete said. Hey, look, let's teach them the 30 years of knowledge I have in the FDNY. How to hold a Halligan bar, how to open a hose line, how to stretch a hose line, how to cut roofs, and let's take all that. Let's take all your experiences in Fairfax. And one of the big things about our company was that we weren't all about our geographic area. So we had guys from Wichita, we had guys from Pittsburgh. So we take all these different mindsets, because there's
every different building construction, whatever.
No fire departments are the same. You would think that we'd all be across the country that, we'd be able to figure out how to put all fires the same. But how we put fires out in San Francisco and LA is not the way we do in the Northeast. It's just impossible to do. But but getting all those different things, all those different mindsets and tactics and strategies and everything, and putting them all together in class and being able to push that out. I mean. Our complacency class that we taught, it was called Combat Ready, which Pete invented. Pete brought out there that class. You can go to that class last month, and if I teach it next month, there'll be something different in there.
Oh, interesting.
Because we've had a conversation, we watched a video. This is how we need to put.
The whole purpose is not to just be complacent with the class, it's just like it is in the craft.
Yeah, you got to keep that up and going and. But we need to get younger firefighters in there and all this sort of stuff. So, what
were some of the hard things about when you're starting the business or you're building this course material? What maybe did you think was going to go easier than it actually did? Or maybe there's a long list. Pick something from the list. I don't know.
Easy. I think it was just it's hard. It was hard asking for money because we were so hey man, we just want to get the word out. But then you're away from home. You're You're taking off from your job, and it's like, we got to ask them for some money.
Yeah. Yeah. From the fire departments you were training.
Yeah. The fire departments you were training, but you go to the fire department and, hey, if you're a career firefighter, if you're in New York or Fairfax, or anything like that, they have, there's money for that. But when you're going to a firehouse where they're literally baking pancakes or, flipping pancakes to get money, it's hard to go in there and go, hey, we need, a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that was, the part is that, gauging those customers and, but I mean, I had great people that were working with me, figuring out billing, figuring out social media.
Yeah.
We were huge on social media for a long time, and that thanks to people that were in the in the company at that particular time. We've divorced from that person, but that you did a great job. I mean,
that's great.
Even if you don't like somebody or you don't like who they are, they all have attributes. They all have something to contribute.
Interesting.
They contributed that way, and we're not the social media giant that we are, because there's a lot younger people that are a lot better at it, and they do all those platforms that you are on that I don't know all about. It all works. So,
what was your team makeup like, or how did you begin to? When it was just you and Pete, was that right? Just you and Pete to start?
Yeah, but then we got a couple guys, we just kept getting people on.
Would people ask, or were you like, hey, I need someone that's an expert in whatever, can you come join us, or how were you actually building that team?
We would never do that. So we would never go, hey, this company wants a class on elevators. Yeah. And then we would go, oh, we got to go find an elevator guy. Yeah. We would want somebody that would, knows elevators and has the experience. So we would never go, hey, look, it from a book. You would have to show that you had the experience to do it, because even in our tagline, it was an experience-based company.
Interesting.
So we would never do something a book smart guy.
So it wasn't like a certified based company. It's how many friggin' doors have you busted in before you teach a door class?
Yeah, it'd be looking at your resume. What companies have you worked at? What city were you working at? What was your fire volume? What was and that doesn't mean that if you're not in one of those areas that you're not a good firefighter. Don't get me wrong.
Interesting. Yeah.
But we just wanted to make sure that that they when they were talking about something, they had to be able to back it up, and whether it be a story and whether it be a failure, anything like that, they're able to communicate that to the audience that we're talking to. So, it was just a bunch of failures and a bunch of good things, and
yeah. What did you ever envision that your training would take you away from the fire service role, like working as a firefighter?
No, because then you lose credibility. In my world, and I think in the world that I live in, you lose credibility if you're not in it. You have to be, I can't go tell a story from 15 years ago and have it relate to a guy that's 19 years old or 20 years old. It just doesn't relate to them. I mean, when I go to a class and rattle off line of duty deaths, and these guys weren't even born yet, it has no relevance to them. They can search it on their phone, but that was 15 years ago. That Chris, that was. The horses were drawn the fire trucks, and Ricky was talking about that. It has to be relevant. It has to be fresh, because that is the next group. I mean,
because they need to believe you can actually.
Yeah, there's 20-year-olds, and you have to be out there. You have to be seen. You have to be in the battle. So I mean, look, I'm not dragging hose lines. I'm not hooking ceilings hardly anymore. But I'm an incident commander, so I have to be there, understand what's happening, so I can portray that to my next class or the next group of people. Is that I have relevant information for you. It's not from my past. It's not history. It has to be like, hey, last week I ran this fire. This is where the firefighters messed up. This is where they did good. This is where the company officer messed up. This is where the company officer did good. This is where the incident commander did good. This is where the incident commander did bad. Because if we can't learn from our past, that famous line, if we can't learn from our past, we're going to be condemned to repeat it.
Yeah.
And in the fire service, we do that on a daily basis. And it's, I tell people now is that, look, my cup doesn't have many of them on it now, but, you have all these firefighter memorial stickers, T-shirts that we buy, and I tell them, hey, man, you got a memorial sticker on your helmet. What did you learn from that fire, and why are you doing it today? Why are you messing up your fire today by not thinking about the sticker you have on your helmet?
That's a good point.
It's just a failure to connect those two pieces together.
Huh.
So no firefighter should lose their life and we not learn from it.
Yeah.
Or be willing to change for it. If you're going to be uncomfortable with change, I mean, you just need to be a firefighter, because your company officer and your chiefs and your department need to change, how they do business. And whatever that line of duty hath incurred, there's just been some terrible ones lately. And fire departments have to be willing to change. And we've helped with some of that, and, you know, bring it to light. But when we leave, you know, we leave, we go back to our job. It's that fire department's responsibility now to take that information and do something with it.
Yeah.
You know, I tell them, look, hey, man, you've sat here for 8 hours. You heard us talk about 1,000 things. And, you know, all you need, as Pete said in one class, you just need to take one of a piece and make a change.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to take all 1,000. Just take that one piece, make a change, and then move on to the next piece, and then move on to the next piece. You have to keep moving forward. If we're going to stay stagnant, man, it's going to be bad.
Do you think that translates into business? What we're doing and what you're doing in your business? Like, do you think, have you looked at the training companies that didn't do what you think they should and have learned from those things?
No, I mean, because I felt that we were kind of leading the business for a while. But I mean, there's so many of them now.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's no, it
may be different now than it was back then. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, we were before social media, before all that sort of stuff, and kind of grew up, and we based it on, you know, word of mouth and all that sort of stuff. So, and then of course we had a great instructor lineup.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, guys from New York, you know, guys from Pittsburgh, guys from Wichita, you know, from all over.
Yeah.
You know, and those guys have their own following, you know, whatever it is, you know, and you can't miss out on a 30-year New York City guy, or Doug Mitchell, who's, you know, one of the vice presidents of Traditions now. I mean, you know, this guy survived 9/11, you know, in Manhattan, and, you know, he's a captain now in the New York City Fire Department. And how can you not take his experiences and move on? You know, look, nobody can duplicate what New York City does. It's impossible. No fire department could do that, what they do, other than them. But there's a lot of little things that they do every day that any fire department, whether you're, you know, running 5 calls a month or, you know, 500 calls a month, you know, you can take that stuff from them.
Interesting. What's your, when you look forward, you know, walk me through when you got that phone call about Pete dying in the fire, what was your immediate reaction, and how did you process that as a partner in your business and a close personal friend and a firefighter related to your, like, what you do is you train people, and that's got to hit so close to home. What was that like for you?
I don't want to get all sensitive.
I'm just curious. Yeah, you know,
I was devastated.
It's
so
hard.
hey, look, I'm a grown man. I cried. I broke down in my office. I'd only been on the job in Clearwater for less than a month.
Oh wow!
I started in May, and it was June 14th. As a matter of fact, it was like May 25th I started, and June 14th, you know, I lose Pete. So I mean, you know, it's just breaking down. I mean, but there was nothing wrong with Pete's fire. And Pete just had a medical emergency after he came out and put the fire out.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, so it wasn't, you know, there wasn't any.
Could have trained better. Did I force the door right?
You know, I mean, there's nothing that guy could have done wrong on the fire. Let's just get, you know, there's nothing, you know, it was going to go out. I mean, you know, Pete's here, it's going to go out. You know, it's going to go out. People are going to get rescued, and, you know, we're going to return home. But so it's, but I mean, to move past from that is just, you know, what we wanted to do. I mean, you know, it's just a minute sitting out there, a reflection, and going, what would Pete want us to do? And then being able to talk to his wife, Andrea, you know, is an important part. You know, she played an important part of my life just as much as Pete did. I mean, those two, I mean, they're New Yorkers. I mean, they could finish each other's stories. You know, Pete would have a story from a firehouse, you know, so it's just an all-male dominated rescue too, and he's telling a story and his wife's finishing it. And I'm like, you know, just, you know, hey, you got to keep going. I think she had a lot of respect for the company.
Did you have others in the company at the time? Other employees or other?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, I think they realized that I was not motivated to do that, you know, without Pete. And then we kept our obligations and did everything we needed to do. But, you know, Dan Shaw, Doug Mitchell, Tony Kelleher was part of our group, you know, the kid we talked about, and Tom Wheel, and they just all kind of, we got back together, got back on the horse, and, you know, we got bigger after that. Huh. You know, that obviously once social media, you know, Facebook and all that came around, and you were able to advertise it all came a lot better. But
what was your first training like after he died?
It wasn't anything. I wish I could, you know, I had a little bit of cold heart, you know, but
were you able to get into it in the same, not the same mindset, but were you able to get back in it and really be engaged, or was it harder?
I mean, you know, it's, hey, there's a company that called us. There's a company that says, hey, come teach me, and we're going to give you a check. You know, and, you know, so you have to perform. You know, I mean, but that's, I mean, the next, you know, as soon as, you know, we laid Pete to rest, I have to go back to Clearwater and do my job. I mean,
that's true. Yeah.
There's no, you know, Clearwater fire, the fires and tragedies and accidents in Clearwater didn't stop because Ricky's having a bad day.
That's
you know,
true.
so you got to keep moving. I mean, you know, how many bad days have you had here? I mean, nobody's going to say, oh, we're going to stop making lights today because Sam's had a bad day. It's not going to happen. So
Yeah.
that you just got to keep moving past it. I mean, obviously it was difficult, but you got to keep moving forward. And firefighters do that every day.
Yeah.
I
That's a
mean,
good point. It's you have a bad call, but you can't not do well the next call because you had a bad call earlier.
And nobody that's calling 911 knows that you're having a bad day. They're just like, hey, you need to come solve this problem for me, whether it be a fire, accident, or, I got a flooded basement. You need to come solve it.
Yeah.
And they hang the phone up, and,
and you're expected to perform.
Yeah. The dispatcher doesn't go, hey, is it okay? Are you guys okay mentally to go outside that call? You go and you got to go do your job. And, I think that's the great thing about firefighters, but also I think it's a bad thing about us because, I don't have the mental issues just because how I was brought up, but that's not the case today. I mean, it's a critical part of what we're dealing with today in the fire service is, the mental anguish of this, what we do. I don't, I'm grateful that I don't have that.
Yeah.
But there is plenty of people that have that. And it's not, that's not meant as, a beat down on them or anything.
No,
I mean,
it's part of
it
the
has
thing,
to be addressed. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not the person to do it. Let's get a couple things straight. No, there are people that can do that for them, but we have to take care of it.
I've noticed a couple of, maybe not our current guests, but folks, it was really funny. This year at FDIC, more people came up and recognized us, our team members, at the show from our podcast, from the 2448, than did, honestly, from the fire tech lighting business. And
I think it's more TikTok than.
It might have been, I don't know what it was.
No disrespect intended. I think it's more TikTok and the social media. Your team is top notch, man.
Well, I appreciate that.
Your marketing team, your social media team, Spencer and Lee and all those guys. Of course, I watch you taking selfies in Harrisburg.
Well,
but that means people are watching it.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to tell you was I think it's interesting that a lot of guys have come up, and every firefighter is a part-time business person. Somewhere, like they're mowing lawns, they're doing side jobs, whatever. And I think that one of the things that I recognized or I realized as I was talking to folks at the show was that a lot of them, they have heard these stories of adversity in business or adversity in the fire service on our podcast, which I don't think that sometimes before that when people think I'm going to start a business, I think it's going to be like unicorn farts and rainbows all day. And it's like, hold on a minute. There's actually not every day is a good day. And it's similar to the fire service. Not every day is a good day. And it's, like, oh, I was going to get mushy on me. Yeah, but like I want to know the story of like, okay, what was a bad day at work like? Because a bad day at work is actually a part of work. And it's part of the fire service. A bad day at the fire service is you go to a family and all the kids are killed in a car wreck. Or you go to a bad day at work and your best friend and a mentor isn't there anymore. Or whatever. You could break this out a million ways. Someone doesn't have to die. You could have a customer leave. But not every day is a good day at work. And the perseverance to continue on and answer the next call, I think, is what makes a firefighter-owned business or a firefighter business maybe more robust than other businesses. Because these days, kids hold up their "I can't handle the yelling" card and they eject out, whatever.
Yeah.
But we can't do that. The firemen can't do that on the fire ground, and business people that serve firefighters or that work around firefighters can't do that. And I appreciate your candor in sharing. It's hard. It's got to be hard, but it is it's so worth. Why are you there doing what you're doing? Why are you training firefighters? Because they deserve to be able to go home to their families afterwards. And if you teach them what they need to give them the fighting chance, I think that's valuable.
I would say that in the 90s and in the early 2000s, we were doing 40 and 50 runs a day at the volunteer firehouse.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I would say that the microscope wasn't on nearly as much as it is today. So the policies, the procedures, the medical standards, the iPhones, the cameras, just all that wasn't out there. And today, it amazes me the sheer volume of runs that they're doing in my fire department. And you just look at with the wear and tear it's taken on the people. It's incredible with the amount of calls that they're doing. And it's not, hey, we're going to a fire. Now we're going to go reset somebody's fire alarm. We're going to check the CO detector. We're going to go lift them up out of bed.
Yeah.
And they do that repeatedly all day long and all night long.
Yeah.
In my organization, those guys don't sleep, man. I just don't, in Fairfax, we were gracious enough, that the citizens would give us off a little bit at nighttime. But the people, they just don't get the rest that they need to get. And, sleep deprivation is a big part of that. So, but it's a big deal. And I can't teach you about that, or have any of my people teach you about that. But, you got to take into account, how our people are doing and, how much training we're doing. It relates back to that I didn't finish about that 8-hour teaching 8 hours is that, now we were cutting it down. How much information can we get into this day that you don't have to come back the second day.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So, hey, if you sign up for a 2-day class and we can get all the information done, hey, we're going to eat through lunch. We're going to teach through lunch. Sorry.
Eat through lunch.
Hey, go get your lunch, sit down. We're going to get another 45 minutes in, and then you're going to get back to your family. You're going to get back to life. You're going to get back, or the next day we're going to leave early. And that, we found that means the world to people,
Yeah.
Don't hold people there for 8 hours just because you have to hold them for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Get through the class, get through the information, get them out of there, and let them go on with their lives. Because the amount of time that's is made for our firefighters to have to go through training and show up for work, and repetitive training and certifications, that there's no downtime.
Yeah.
Because people have to go home to their families.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear I have to go to work every day.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want to get divorced or get separated. But
what are you guys doing now? What's if I walked into the Traditions Training headquarters and I'm going to learn? Okay, tell me what's your today look like, and how's that different from before?
I mean, we engaged a lot more. We were out. Begging's not the word, but we would put out the what your marketing team would say. They put out a tickler or yeah. whatever it is, whatever that word is. Said, hey, yeah. hey, look here. Here's a picture. Here's the class we give. And we would ask. We would get responses from that, and
yeah.
then we'd book up the calendar, and then we'd look at the calendar and go, Jesus, that's an insane amount of things to do. Now we don't advertise as much. If you know us by word of mouth, or however we do things, where I'll go out and do consulting with apparatus, and then, can you do the practical portion for the tower? How to operate the tower, you can help us spec it and get it built, and then when it gets here, can you show us how to use it? Oh yeah, we can do that. But
so it's more a la carte, custom.
Yeah,
like,
and
here's what we.
And we've curtailed to that to, hey, we'll do your Friday night. We'll do Friday night classroom for 2 or 3 hours, and then during the day, Saturday we'll do the practical. So that way you have Saturday night off and Sunday off.
Yeah.
So just once again, great ideas by people that worked in the company. But that's just a big part of trying to figure out where we're at in the teaching world now, or who our customer is. And now if you send us an email, we'll respond to you. We're either going to be able to do it or we're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
We're not. We'll give you other references.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what training company to go to. We got PL Vulcan. We got Fire Training Associates. We'll give you some place to go. People that we have a relationship with. Or people that are friends with us. Because as I've gotten older, and we just talked about, friendships are the most important thing.
Yeah.
And that's why the only reason I'm sitting here. Because look, Sam, you and I are not on the same. We're not. And I tell the story to anybody who wants to meet. I met Sam for the first time a long time ago, and it's high vis lights, and I'm the fire apparatus manager, and I use this other product, and it works great, and they come introduce me to Sam, and Sam looks exactly like he did. He's a flat brim hat guy, which obviously is not my style, and he has well manicured hair, to make sure it looks great. And, I said, there's no way I'm buying thousands of dollars worth of lights from this guy. They're just not going to happen. And then, our stuff's guaranteed for life. And he would go back to Tommy Boy, say his guarantee's as good as his boxes, You never know. This guy could be gone tomorrow. And I was forced to deal with Sam by my boss. And
what a great.
And now, once again, it's a friendship that, you're a different person than you are that you present. And it's a great person that you present, don't get me wrong. But, it's just that friendship pieces and having those relationships. And we do the same thing with our apparatus manufacturers and the people that are salesmen, is that, we want good partners. We don't care about your metal. We don't care. I don't care that you can hang a Hummer from your light. I care that the people that are good, the product's good, and when we call, we get an answer on the telephone. We don't want to talk to a call center in India, when we have a problem with a high-vis light.
My truck has service. Can you help me?
It all goes back to the same way we do with traditions. We want to deal with our customers, our friends, the people that we want to deal with them. Look, we'll go teach anywhere if we can do it.
Yeah.
But we're not going to string you along and say, hey, you can go get this better someplace else.
Yeah.
So.
My wife gave a presentation in last winter to the truck manufacturer that you guys work with a lot. And she was talking to the guy and said, I just want to quote one of your customers. I don't buy this brand of fire trucks because they've been great sheet metal. I buy them because of the people that support me and the process behind it. And she was talking to them about how important it is that you
Hold on, didn't I make that comment?
You did. She was
Randy?
quoting you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just checking to make sure.
She was like,
I was making sure you see if Randy was back here.
Yeah. So she was like, this is what your customers tell us. It doesn't have anything to do with the metal you bend. So you show up and talk about the metal you bend, great. But you damn well better back it up with good service, with good support, with all of the things you have to do. And she was making the pitch to them that it matters more how you treat people than necessarily what you make. And candidly, all the stuff that we build, I think we build the best lighting tech in the world. But I actually think that most people clearly don't buy from us just because of light fixtures. They buy from us because of there's so much more to the business than just that. And it is funny because like in whether it's in training or it's in whatever, I mean, like I think people sometimes get wrapped up in only focusing on the results of the product that they make or just the actual widget. And then you let the rest of the thing fall by the wayside. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. Like someone was telling me about buying a friggin', cameras, a pain in the back. If you got to order on their website, it's like, wait a minute, I should be able just to call the people and get the thing. This should be easier.
Yeah, I mean, it's a model. I mean, and we're on the podcast. We can talk anything. I mean, the model that you've created, in my eyes, is a perfect model. And that has nothing to do with your product. I mean, your product's a good product, but how how you communicate how your product works is how it's going to be received in the fire service, because that is the person. So look, I mean, I've bought $100 million worth of fire trucks easily in my life. And I can remember that the peer salesman kicking me off, wanting to, I'm sitting up there as a young kid, turning the wheel, trying to blow the air horn, everything, like the guy's kicking me off. I end up buying about $2.5 million worth of fire trucks from this guy when I get older. So, I mean, it's how you engage with those people. So you're engaging, we were in Pennsylvania this year, and like 2 kids came up to get selfies with you. And I'm like, how come I'm not getting a selfie picture? But really, it's because I have a face for radio. Because I have I don't have a flat brim hat, whatever. So, but I mean, in 5 years from now, or maybe even next month for that corporation, they're going to be buying something, and they're going to go through my phone. Oh, look, I had a picture with this guy. But that is once again engaging with that next generation of firefighters, or the next generation for you. They're going to buy a high-vis light because that guy took time out of his day. He's you don't look it, but you're the corporate, you're a head of a corporation, man. It's a big deal. And you take that time out, and that's, once again, developing that friendship. You take your time out of your day, you gave it to a 19 or 20-year-old kid, I think he was, and who knows, in 5 years, he could be buying a fire truck and go, I want a high-vis light. Or, I want a widget.
That could translate to anybody's business, too. I mean,
absolutely.
I think
and that's the model that I think your marketing team and, all the people behind the scenes, Spencer and Lee and all of them, they engage that group. And, like I said, who would have ever thought, I'm seriously, I probably bought $100 million worth of fire trucks. But I mean, nobody would have thought that when I was, 18 or 19 years old. And if somebody had nurtured that, and there's somebody that did in my life that helped me understand, how a Seagrave aerial works and what the 2 gauges meant and everything like that. And that made me the person I am today. But you take the time to do that. I mean, that model works. You have to engage that 18 and 19-year-old kid. He could be 17. He could be 16.
Yeah.
Because that is going to be, in your models, that they're going to be purchasing that light in 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
Where they'll go, hey, this light, look, I saw it. Here's a TikTok video or whatever social media thing you're on today.
How do you think that applies?
Twitter's dead, right? Apparently.
Yeah. Well, it's just not everywhere. I don't even know how to use it. Okay. It's great. Our team does all those things. I've never even got on the phone. How do you think a firefighter who's thinking about starting a business, what can they learn from what you did with Traditions Training, or whatever we're doing with high-vis, fine. But primarily I'm curious about what could they learn from your journey that would help them evaluate business, starting or running? I
don't know if there's something they can learn from us. I think we started out before internet. We kind of went through it. Like I said, we had great people. I can't take credit for a lot of the success of the business because we had great people that were inside,
That's learning something there. Don't take credit yourself and let others,
Running social media, giving good content, still going to work every day to get the experience to put it out there. But I meant, the model would be is your model. I mean, it's, look, man, I can guarantee you there'll be a time when I'm giving Spencer the time of day or Lee the time of day. But, they're engaged. I mean, when Lee starts, Lee is one of Sam's employees. When he's rattling off Sam's numbers and vocabulary, and you go, this kid knows what he's talking about. They're high, they're educated. Hey, I've not crawled down a hallway with Lee. And believe me, if you hadn't crawled down a hallway with me, I wouldn't even tell you what time of day it was. But if you're educated, you understand the product, you're able to get that thing out, and that's the same thing with firefighting. I mean, look, you're not going to get, the fires aren't as many as they were, but if you do the training correctly, you dedicate yourself to the craft and learn that sort of stuff. And look, man, I can go watch these videos that are on social media in any given day and learn a trick. I mean, I still can't. They got the thing where you can put your helmet strap over your arm and do all. I can't do that. I've watched that video 100 times. But there's guys that are doing it flawlessly. And guess what? It's a social media class. It's a 5-minute social media class, and boom, they're out there practicing. They don't need me to come in and talk for 8 hours on it. They got it right there on social media. They can lay in bed at night and look at these videos and training videos, and the way a lot of these good companies are doing it, the way your company's doing it, the way the other training companies are doing it, with these young guys that are using social media to its fullest and getting the message out there. All I will tell you is that make sure that you check the credits. Because anybody can put a TikTok video, anybody can put a FaceTime video.
Yeah, you're going to interview them before they come teach a class with your logo on their shirt. TikTok isn't going to do that.
Yeah, so I mean, just make sure that they have street cred.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that can handle a camera and teach you something, but is it actually something they've done on a fire ground? Has it worked on a fire ground? Do you have video to back it up? Because God knows there's plenty of video out there. It's just, you can't just take everything that's on the internet and take it as fact.
Yeah.
You have to check into it. And if we go back to you, I mean, if there's plenty of facts about Sam and his business, so I mean, it is what it is. But it just, that's the part. I mean, I can't imagine where my company would be if I had your team. And just being able to get those 4 and 5 minutes out, because what used to take 8 hours takes 10 minutes now. Just by getting video, the good knowledge, and getting it out there into a medium that people can understand. Because sitting in an 8-hour class is not today's medium. It isn't.
Yeah. What's next for Traditions Training?
We're gonna keep on it. I talked about it briefly. Is that we just keep expanding to different arenas where as we get interested in them, and we expanded into apparatus specifications. We consulting, and we're still doing a bunch of command classes and our complacency classes. And we hired a new instructor from Washington D.C. who's going to go back to some of our RIT stuff to do that. I've had a kid reach out to me just this weekend as I came back from the Jeff Dieter Memorial. This kid, I literally remember bouncing him on my knee as a kid in diapers, and he wants to teach a class about being a young company officer. And I'm like, man, one, I'm old, and two is that this kid, he's gonna reach somebody.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the most popular class at FDIC? I don't know, but he's going to reach somebody. And if you get that one person trained, that's what it's all about. I mean, Bobby Holden Fire Engineering, do a fabulous job with that. Of that, getting all these instructors from all different places, and you can go into a class, there'll be 15 people in it. And you can go into a class, there'll be 500 people in it. And I've learned a lot of good stuff in the 15-person classes as opposed to the 500-person classes. But getting across that whole spectrum. So
yeah. Well, that's awesome. Ricky, I've so enjoyed having this conversation. I know it's the second time, but the first one was a great practice. Honestly, getting to know you through professionally has been fun, but personally has been a lot more fun. I really appreciate you making the trip down, and great to have you here.
Friendships are the most important thing. So
absolutely. Cool.
All right.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. If you want to be on the show or you know someone who should, head over to the2448.com and submit your business. Don't forget to follow and subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If you thought it was 4 stars, still give us 5 stars or I will find you. See you next time. Later.